After decades of sitting on the sidelines, Vandoren has shocked the clarinet world by announcing their first foray into the synthetic reed market with the Vandoren VK1. Currently, these are in a limited release window. The only places you can get them are at one of the Vandoren Musician Advisory Studios in either Los Angeles, Chicago, or New York City. Fortunately, a few weeks ago, I was lucky enough to have a free day, so I made my way up to the New York City studio where I could try them myself. And while I was up there testing them out, I had a chance to talk with the director of the Advisory Studios, David Gould, to find out more about the reeds in general. So let's let David take it away.
After nearly a decade of research and development, Vandoren came out with their first synthetic reed. It's a polymer that they invented, meaning it didn't exist before this. The name VK1, I like to say, is Vandoren cane with a K, kind of a, modern fun play on it because it's something that Vandoren created and it's not cane, and one, hopefully this is the first of many. How these reeds work that are different than cane reeds. A cane reed we will manufacture and then we will then flex to see its flexibility to determine its strength. So if it's not flexible or not as flexible, it's a harder reed. If it is flexible, it's a softer reed. That's what we've done for those. For this product, it's quite different because we actually have to make different sizes physically. So that's, I think, part of the R&D that took a lot of effort is, okay, we feel good about the material and how we make our reeds. Now we have to figure out strengths and things like that. Like any new reed and how anybody looks at a reed, everybody interprets a strength differently. We came up with this new numbering system. The lower the number, the softer the reed. So the softest we make is a 35, and the hardest we make is a 60. I'd like to believe it goes from a hard 2.5, the 35, to about a good firm 3.5. Some people have even felt it almost feels like a 4. Think of it as a new material and the new numbering system kind of to break away from the tradition of, the 3s and 3.5s. It's just something fresh. I think we look at that way. I don't think it's so much for comparison, but obviously, it is funny to have to re-educate people of what size do I need if it's a different numbering system. So that's why we came up with this chart. But as all reed players know, you got to try to find what fits the way your embouchure works, the way you support, and what you're looking for in your ear.
Now that we know more about the reeds, let's hear how they sound. But I want to make a game of it, so this is going to be a blind listening test. You will hear me play a Strength 50 VK1 and a Strength 3 Diodario Reserve Evolution reed that I purchased a while back, because I completely forgot to buy Strength 3 Vandorens for this video. At least now we know the strength chart is accurate across brands. Neither company has sponsored this video. I will let you know which is reed A and which is reed B right after the test. So with all that in mind, let's give them a listen. And now it's time for the big reveal. If you guessed that Reed A was the Vandoren VK1, you would be correct. And of course, that means that Reed B was the Cane Reed. Now, for those of you who are itching to get your hands on these reeds, let's cover a few things you're going to want to know before you put your order in. Starting out with what is probably everyone's biggest question, how do I figure out what strength to buy? Well, it's a little tricky. I found the strength comparison chart that Vandoren put out to be fairly accurate. A 40, 45, and 50 all feel like they could be from the same box of threes if we were talking about cane reeds. For me, the resistance of the 45 was just about perfect. However, after doing some recording, I discovered that the 45 sounded a bit thinner than I would like, and the 40 even more so. Going up to the 50, while being slightly more resistant than my preference, resulted in a noticeably fuller sound on my setup. So for me, I discovered that I needed to err on the slightly harder side of the spectrum, but at the same time, it's nice to have the softer options available depending on the music, the hall, or how my embouchure is feeling that day. Now, one thing that needs to be mentioned is just like a box of cane reeds, VK1s of the same strength are somewhat inconsistent. For instance, you could try a bunch of strength 45s and some might be softer or harder, more vibrant, more diffuse, etc. That is to say, if you try a bunch, you're definitely going to find some that play better than the rest. I didn't find any complete duds among the reeds I tried. Everything was definitely playable, but after trying the best ones, I also wasn't interested in purchasing anything that felt worse. I think all of this is to say, expect to have to experiment not only with reeds of different strengths, but also reeds within the same strength to really dial in the reed that will work the best on your setup. Now, I have no idea how Vandoren is planning on rolling out the wider release. However, I'm hopeful that at the very least, they will offer some sort of bundle deal so people can try multiple different strengths of VK1 at a reduced price to help them figure out what strength will work the best for them. Otherwise, the cost is going to add up very quickly, because currently these reeds are MSRPing at $77.99. Now, I highly doubt you will see them at that price anywhere. You're probably going to see them around the $38 to $40 mark, but that's still quite expensive. Now, let's talk about the playing experience. The reeds do require a slightly different approach compared to cane. I find myself making small embouchure and voicing adjustments to get them to sound the way I want them to. It's hard to put into words exactly the changes that were being made, because it just didn't take that long for my embouchure to naturally adjust. Additionally, I tried these reeds on a myriad of mouthpieces, and while they worked pretty well with all of them, I did end up settling on the Licostini FDC. I'd read a while back that this mouthpiece was particularly good with synthetic reeds, and that turned out to be true. On some of my other mouthpieces, the reeds had a slight edge to the sound that I've come to associate with synthetic reeds, but with the FDC, that edge was strongly mitigated. So while I think they will work with a wide range of mouthpieces, I do think there's still something to be gained by pairing them with a mouthpiece that is either synthetic friendly or has been designed with synthetic reeds in mind. Now let's move on to articulation and response, which I think is probably this reed's biggest selling point. Getting notes to respond, especially in the altissimo, was incredibly easy. I never felt like I had to search for just the right voicing to get the reed to speak how I wanted, and rapid articulation was incredibly impressive as well. The reed just does an incredible job of providing hold and stability as you rapidly articulate through different registers. Simply put, the articulation just felt right. Finally, the last major thing to talk about is intonation. For me and other people I've seen online, Legeres tend to play lower in pitch than cane reeds. This isn't the end of the world, there are workarounds, shorter barrels, different pitched mouthpieces, but it's generally an issue worth pointing out. Therefore, I was happy to discover that the Vandorens don't have quite the same issue. For most of the reed's range, it plays just about identically in pitch to a cane reed. However, as I got into the upper register and altissimo, I did notice that the pitch had a tendency to be on the slightly lower side compared to cane reeds. This slight sagging of the pitch became more pronounced the higher I played. And while I could pretty easily get a Super C to speak on these reeds, I did have trouble getting it consistently up to pitch. I was a little worried that it was just me, so right after doing this intonation test with the VK1, I switched back to the cane reed I'd been using for the other recordings, and you can see that the upper altissimo is noticeably sharper. I will be doing some further testing to see if this can be corrected with a voicing change or perhaps different fingerings, but for now I thought it was worth pointing out. So all in all, I think that Vandoren's first foray into the synthetic reed market is a pretty successful one. Are they the holy grail of synthetics? The reed that plays identically to the very best cane reeds straight out of the box with no adjustments to embouchure or equipment necessary? No, unfortunately they're not. However, I do think they sound quite good, and while they might lack some of the depth you find in the best cane reeds, I still think they are good enough to use in most scenarios and might even be preferable in some. For instance, I picked up these reeds just in time for a studio gig that required 16 hours of playing over 3 days. And about 12 of those hours were spent playing on these reeds. Not having to worry about which cane reed I was going to switch to every couple of hours made the whole experience much more enjoyable. Additionally, I can't really imagine playing anything but synthetics for an outdoor concert now. So, if you've tried these reeds, let me know what you thought of them down in the comments below. If you have any additional questions, feel free to ask. And until next time, happy practicing.